Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to some Kamigami battles. These are two brand new expansions. Court of Empires, which is going to feature the Chinese warriors, and the Warriors of Dawn, which will have Japanese warriors. So these are expansion packs which are fully compatible with any of the core sets. The original core set, Battle of the Nine Realms, or River of Souls. Or the Cthulhu one as well. So like we have all our expansions listed here. So two big boxes, which you'll have to have one of these starter sets, or again the Cthulhu one, which isn't showing on here. And then you can mix and match any of these smaller expansions. Because there's not enough cards in each expansion to be able to do it. So yeah, these are very fun little things to add in there. I'm not going to re-go over the full rules because there's a general idea of what Kamigami is. It's a deck building game where you're playing as historical kind of like figures or mythological creatures and gods trying to defeat each other. You'll get each deck, each box I should say, will have 6 brand new gods to play as well as 1 new temple or location to play. So you get some other different things to switch to. Would have been kind of neat if they would have had 3 locations to kind of match the core games, but that's alright, it's what it is. Each one will also have their own set of dividers, which work just like all the rest of them. They have their little symbols, so like Warriors of Dawn, number 7, for example, have all their different cards. You can see they have a lot less. They will have their own randomizer cards as well, so then you can, again, mix and match with everything else. And then each set will have all of its warriors, 5 copies of each card. And then it will have 1 set of disciples, which can be level 1, 2, or 3. So it gives you something to be able, if you bought multiples, you can switch out some of the other ones. So you're not always stuck playing the same disciples or generic cards over and over and over. Which I think is a really cool thing. And what also could be neat to do is eventually, if you buy enough stuff, if you want to make the game even more asymmetrical, would be interesting to do would be to either take the extra disciples and either be like player 1, they get their couple of disciples, player 2 gets the disciples, player 3, player 4, maybe even just the starting hand are all separate, and then maybe you have like another stack that's always out for everyone to get later on. Or you could even take X number of so many, divide them up, shuffle them together, and have pile 1, 2, and 3 of your disciples, and then it's a mixture of all the different stuff. So buying them, you might get one from one set, or you might get one from a different. Makes them a little bit more random, but it kind of makes them more interesting to buy. So those are alternate ideas, not part of the official game rules. So before we hop into these, on the back have all the interesting stuff on there. So 86 cards each, the same amount of each one. 24 disciple cards for each, which don't always match the exact number on the core game. I think like the core game disciple ones are like 48, and then it's 24 2, and then 12 3. Here you're gonna have 24 regardless, just so it's an even amount. We have combining expansions. You have multiple sets of this. You mix them together, create much more varied games. For gods to shuffle together, deal them out randomly for free-for-all. For team play, each team will randomly choose 1 Pantheon, choose their gods from what gods are chosen. Players can choose temples from all available or randomly toss them out, as long as they fit their aesthetic, their little symbols. To make the warrior deck, choose 6 red warriors, and which are usually your combat classes, and 3 of each of the other 4 colors. You can either go this randomly using randomizer cards, or provided, or choose specific cards. Then choose 1 Disciple 1, 2, and 3. To make the starting deck, these players use 8 Type 1s, and 2 Type 2 cards for a total of 10 cards to start. You can determine the level by the Roman numeral on these cards. So even when you're starting with your base game, you're not going to use everything from the base game, but you're going to use 9 different warriors in the deck, and this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and look at that, 9 warriors. So that was kind of neat about these expansions is, you you don't have enough disciples, because you only get one set of disciples, why you couldn't just play a base game by itself. But what is neat though, so if I have the base game, I can swap out this disciple for the disciple of that game, of the course that I'm playing as, and I can swap out this entire deck with a brand new one before I start mixing and matching them all together. So I think that's a really fun idea. Alright, let's hop in and see what we have for these. We're going to start with the Warriors of Dawn, which is the Japanese. I am going to, like always, I do stuff with culture stuff. Apologize as I butcher all these names. We have Inazami no Mikyoto, the god of creation and destruction. Death of the Thousands. Act. Banish the top card of the warrior deck. Reincarnate. Act. Banish one warrior in the Hall of Heroes. If his pile is now empty, replace it with a one warrior from the Netherworld. If there are no cards in the Netherworld, replace it from the card of the warrior deck. Oh, that's cool then. So you can get rid of them, you can potentially replace an entire pile. We have Izanagi no Okomi, the creator. Kotosuka no Tsurugi, pay 1 energy to attack for 2. Any cards used for defense against attack are banished at the end of the attack. So your opponents have to decide whether it's worth taking it or not. Birth of a Hero, pay 2, put the top card of the warrior deck into your discard pile. Interesting. So you can get rid of a card right away. Akamarasu, the god of the rising sun. Yaka no Kagami. Before agitation, which is looking at the top card of the deck, with the top card of that player's deck before putting the top or bottom of their deck, your choice. So this can work for anybody if they're doing the agitation, which you go to the top of their deck and then it's asking for what card you're looking for depending on what card activates it. So you or your opponent can basically let you stack it. If it's yours, you can be like, oh, if I'm looking for a warrior, oh, it wasn't a warrior card, I could put it at the bottom of my deck. Or you can try and mess up your opponent for it, too. Even if it is a warrior, like they need to find a warrior, you might be like, yeah, but then they draw it, and I don't want them to have that warrior. So, pretty cool. Blessing of the Sun, pay 1, change both changing colors. A warrior just played 2 white. Interesting. So, again, this could be used for you or your opponents, and you can make it to block their chain or to increase your chain effects. So very cool. We have Susanoo, god of the storms. Kusanagi no Tsuruguri. When you damage a god or a temple, that player must discard one warrior card from their hand if they have 5 or more cards in their hand. And then Slayer of Dragons, Racked. After you damage a god or a temple, pay 1, banish 1 warrior from the discard pile the opponent just damaged. So with this character, you're going to want to focus on attacking. Kagutsushi, the fire god. Black Fires of Death. Discard your entire hand and draw a number of cards equal to those discarded -1. Any of the cards drawn were red warriors, play them immediately, even if they cannot legally be played in the current chain. So the more cards you have in the hand, the better this actually gets. Forza Blade, pay 1 to add 2 attack to the attack. You may activate this only once per turn. And then our last one is Hachimen, the god of war. Imperial Guardian, pay 1, energy, play 1 card of the defense from your discard pile as if it were in your hand. Nice. And then Arrow of Heavens, play 1 warrior from your discard pile if it can legally be played in the current chain. Banish that warrior at the end of your turn instead of discarding it. Neat. So kind of like defense reaction abilities are kind of cool. Then we do have one location. The Temple of Kiyomizu-dera. React. When you play a warrior, gain 1 energy on this temple. You may activate this ability once per turn. React. Pay 1 from this temple and draw 1 card. When you play a warrior, gain 1 energy on this temple. And then you can pay 1 to draw a card. So it doesn't really do any huge negative effects, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, very nice. Again, I wish they would have had 3 just to kind of go with the rest of the sets, because all the core sets have 6, so they have 3 for each different culture. It would have been cool to have 3 for this one as well, just for the if for no other fact, and that way you have more options. All right, let's look at our the rest of our cards here. Now, unfortunately, they don't have anything in here to indicate. Obviously, these are all going to be like the Japanese warriors, themed warriors, but they don't have anything from one set to the next to denote which culture they belong to. So, for example, like this is the Chinese one I have in my hand. There's nothing on here to delineate that this is the Chinese disciple versus this is the Japanese one. So there's nothing on there that separates the cultures once you start mixing them together. Obviously, you can look at the set down here for the expansions to know which expansion. When you have the core set that has 2 cultures mixed together, there's nothing to separate them. We have Arishi Guru. So he's a level 3 disciple. So this is all interesting. He's one that does not start in your hand, but we have react as defensive 2 or an attack of 1. So usually the level 3s don't have any base, but this could be very helpful if you're like, hey, we want more of an attack defense oriented game. Very cool. We had one from the last starter set, if I remembered. It was stuff about if you attacked the temple or if your temple was attacked. So it's really like temple defense. And this one's just straight up regular attacking. So very cool. We have 24 of those. Otherwise, all the rest of these cards, we have 5 of each. So we have the Aya Oni, big 6-cost warrior, which just has an attack of 4. Kinitse, copying act ability of a warrior and played previously in the current chain. So that's neat. So if, like, basically, it's like if I played him and he has a yellow to chain, I could chain her into that and have another 4 attack right away. If Kinitsu is banished from a player's hand, deck, or discard pile, is reincarnated instead, which means you put it back in your deck. I don't have the instruction book out to see exactly where it goes. We have Tenku, draw 2 cards, react defense 3, and remove 2 energy from opponent's temple. I think one thing you're also going to notice, and it's hard to point out without having each one here, but each different expansion or set, like culture, has kind of a leaning more towards one color than the other. I think they all have the 6 reds, so you have that. These are more your warrior ones, but they each kind of lean towards this and leans a little bit more towards having, I think, a few more white cards than the other one. But I kind of just do a sneak peek to the Chinese one. I think there might be more green, but I think it might be pretty even as well, which just maybe a little hint more one direction. Yeah, here we have draw 2 cards, we have some more defenses, and removing energy from an opponent's temple. We have Ningayo, Little Mermaid Girl. Act during your discard phase, place 1 warrior or disciple you have played this card on top of your deck instead of discard it, or draw 2 cards. You know, reuse your warriors is nice. Bakemono. Attack 3. Bakemono's attack can only be defended against if 2 or more cards with defense are played. Ooh, tricky. We have Kirin. Act 2. Or gain 2 energy. Or choose 1 warrior or disciple from the netherworld. Cost of 4 or less and put it in your discard pile. The Tanuki. Change one of Tanuti's chaining colors to the color of your choice. That's cool. So you can have anything link with her. And like, nobody like, okay, so if I just play her, why would I have anyone else link with her? What point is that? Because there are some cards that might be like, if you link 2 or 3 warriors, you get to do this. Or we had Kinitse right away. It says you can use an act card of a card currently in your chain. So you could play her, then link Kinitse to her, and then you could use her other act ability too. Here it says pay 1. Faith to banish one warrior at a cost of 3 or less from your hand. Choose a face-up warrior in the Hall of Heroes at a cost of 5 or less and put it in your discard pile. So get rid of one of your cheap characters to get a little bit better character in your pile, which is pretty cool. We have the Yamato Kakaris. Is an attack of 3. If this attack damages a god, that player must discard a warrior from their hand if they have 5 or more cards in their hand. If they do not have any warriors in their hand, they must reveal their hand. So lots of the effects do 5 or more cards in your hand. At the end of your turn, you're always drawing back up to 5. So unless your opponent has played a bunch of reactionary or you force them to discard, you'll usually get these effects. But I think the whole idea of having 5 is if someone's stockpiling in their hand, super well it does it. But that way you're not like, hey, discard a card. Now I'm going to play this and force you to discard another warrior card. Like, all of a sudden, just to their turn and they only have 2 cards and they can't really have a turn. It kind of limits some of these down to where, like, you're not going to end up eliminating someone's full hand. Because once they've discard 1 card or play 1 reaction, then they're under 5 cards. So these effects don't do anything. So very cool. And our last one is the Kaguya Himi, which says acting 2 faith or 4 faith during your discard phase and banish this card. So if you really need a 4, you can definitely do that. So very cool. This is very much more of an attack-oriented set, which is nothing wrong with that. Again, if you really like the attack cards, this is a great deck to probably pick up and mix some of them. And again, you don't always have to mix all of them. You could just mix in the ones that you really want to use. But we have some good faith ones in here as well, which if you really want to be able to buy more cards, maybe swap this in for a different one. So very cool. Alright, then we have for our second set, which is the Court of Empires, we have our, what do you call these cards? Divider cards. And then we also have all of our randomizers. My brain just stopped working here for a minute. So let's go ahead and look at our gods. And I'm less familiar with Japanese culture, so I might butcher these names even worse than I did the Japanese. I'm less familiar with Chinese than Japanese. So we have Yu Hong, the Jade Emperor. Reshape the world. Act. Shuffle all the cards in the Hall of Heroes back in the warrior deck, then refill the Hall of Heroes. Ooh, interesting. Maker of the Heavens. Pay 1, change the changing color of a warrior you just played to the colors of your choice. That's a fun god ability. So you can basically keep spending your health, essentially, to chain stuff together quicker. Yan Lu Wang, the Judge of Hell. Transmogrification. Pay 1. Energy, reincarnate any one warrior in the Netherworld. Bringer of Death, react. When a warrior attacks, you pay 1, reincarnate that warrior during the discard of this phase. Alright, I'm going to see if it says in the instructions what reincarnate is, now that we've come across it 3 times. I'm assuming it just means bring them back from the Nether, but I don't know where they go. If they go back to the hero deck, or if they go back to the warrior deck, or if they go back to the discard pile, or where. Reincarnate. When a warrior is reincarnated, the card is placed back into the pile where the card originated. Warrior deck for warriors, disciples during the disciple stack. Okay, so cool. So basically the idea is someone banished the card, you can re-bring them back. It only puts it back into the warrior deck, so it just gets them off. And so if it's maybe someone got rid of there's only 5 copies of a card, so if you play a card with like really good attack or a really good defense or something, someone keeps banishing it on you, you can at least bring them back into the deck and have a chance to get them. Or if you have someone that can affect the Netherworld cards and pull cards from it, like I can draw this card and add it back to my deck, you might want to put them back in the deck so they don't have options to do that. Nizha, the 3rd highest. Flame-tipped Spear. Add 1 energy, pay 1 energy, add +2 attack to any attack. You may activate only ability once per attack. Or Winged Fire Wheels. Remove 1 warrior from the current chain, then add it to the chain to use one of its act abilities. You may use this ability if the chosen warrior could really be played in the current chain. Oh, okay, this is kind of cool. So, this would basically be like, let me grab a couple of cards here. I gotta find 2 cards that work together. So this would be like, for example, if I play this card, which is a red, I can play a blue or green after it. So I could play this one to link it with the blue. I could use this ability to remove a warrior from the current chain, add it to the chain. Since it has a red, I could then add this guy back in here and play him a second time. That's kind of fun. So it lets you reuse them right away as long as you can still chain them together. And then it's also like the fact that it uses act ability. Some guys have multiple acts, and maybe the first one, like, here's one from the other set, like, right, if we were chaining this, you could do the act 2, and then if you rechained it back in, you could do the act 4 afterwards, if you wanted to have 6 during that turn. Or there wouldn't almost be a reason why you couldn't do the act 4 twice, because you're still going to banish it either way. You can't double banish it. Interesting. We have Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, Warrior of Many Faces. Pay 1, search the deck, and choose 1 card. If that card could legally be played in the current chain, play it. Otherwise, discard it. And Agility. If your temple has not been destroyed when an opponent targets Sun Wukong with an attack, you may force that opponent to target your temple instead. Interesting. So you can force them to destroy your temple instead of taking life. I love this whole idea. There's a couple of guys in here that have messing with the chain abilities. So I really am interested to see what the Warriors have. Erlang Sheng, the Truth Seeing. Third Eye of Truth. Pay 1 energy, cancel a god's act ability when used. So yeah, sacrifice them from having to use their stuff. Controller of Waters act. Take 1 water warrior from your discard pile and put it into play if it could legally be played in the current chain. Specific, but still nice that you do it for free. You don't have to pay anything. And then we have Jiang Yu, the Divine General. Slayer of Demons. Pay 1 energy during the discard phase, banish 1 red or blue warrior in play. Righteous War. Take a red warrior from your discard pile and play if it could be played in your current chain. You only use the warrior's attack ability on a player that attacked you during their last turn. Very specific, but it does give you those options. Then we have our location. We have the Qianting Temple, which says react. Pay 2 faith, gain 1 energy on this temple. You may activate it only once per turn. Pay 1 from this temple to reduce the cost of 1 card and recruit this turn by 2. Cannot reduce the cost to less than 1. So it's kind of neat. So most of the temples are kind of like this. They have one ability that gets you the energy, then the next one spends the energy. But usually it's you get 1 energy, the second one costs 2. So this basically you could spend 2 energy, you can keep gaining this back up and then spending 1 every turn. So long as you have 2 extra faith every other turn, you could definitely do this. And it makes your guys a little bit cheaper as well, so kind of neat. Cool, that's what we have for that. Alright, then let's look at our warriors. So we're going to start with, we have another Discipline 3. So it's either this one or we just saw from the Japanese themed one, we could have that one. So one or the other. It would have been kind of cool if we had an alternate one, so you could have had one, like a 1 and a 2 mix, but that's alright. React. Defense 2. You may retrieve clay warriors from your discard pile and play it as a react. If you do, during the discard phase, reincarnate all clay warriors played this way. Defense 2. You may retrieve clay warrior from your discard pile to play it as a react. If you do, during the discard phase, reincarnate all warriors. Because reincarnate I thought it just affected another. Oh, it regardless of where it's at. So interesting. So you can always play him as a 2 defense, or if he's in your discard pile, you can play him as a quick 2 defense card. But then you have to put anyone played this way. So if you end up doing multiple that way, then you lose them all. They go back to the deck and you have to rebuy them. But hey, instant defense if you absolutely need it is not a bad idea. And then plus, when you buy a card, if it goes into your discard pile, every time you buy a card and it goes to your discard pile, you can. Why is my brain not working here? Oh, okay, yeah. When your recruit cards are put on the top of your draw deck instead of your discard pile, it's a little bit different than normal games. But once it gets discarded, so as soon as you get it on your next turn, you can go ahead and have it sitting there waiting to use. That's a pretty cool effect, especially when we have a very attack-heavy, probably themed deck in here. Or Japan was heavy themed, so we'll see what this one ends up doing. Alright, so for our next ones, we have 5 copies of each of these. We have Shugigui. Attack 2. If you damage a god, that player must discard 1 warrior from their hand if they have 4 or more cards in their hand. If they have no warriors, they must reveal their hand. Ooh, so we're dropping it down to 4. Zhengxi. And now I'm sitting here like going through this, and I'm like, I said at the beginning, I don't know a lot of the Chinese stuff, and I'm recognizing a lot of this from various stuff. Obviously, Romance of the Five Kingdoms or Dynasty Warrior type games. But even like this happens with Darkstalkers, reminds me of that. Or a couple of the other animes, because they're very. Lots of animes from Japan. There are lots of themes that kind of cross over from different Asian cultures. Act 2. Attack 2, if you damage a god with this, gain 1 energy. So a lot of attacking gods. Just straight up. They're not even going to play around with the other effects. Hungry Ghost. Act. Choose one opponent's god to lose 1 energy. During your discard phase, you must place Hungry Ghost in your opponent's discard pile. Act. Draw 1. That's not bad for a cheap card, though. They're going to get access to it, but at least you get make them lose free health. We have Ba Zhao Gao. Pay 1. The top 5 cards of your deck, discard as many of those cards as you want, put the remainder cards to the back of your deck in any order, then draw a card. Cool. So kind of stacking your deck right away. Again, it's being neat with them Clay Warriors. You can buy like 1 or 2 of them and then immediately discard them. So that way they're ready for defense on your next turn. The Mogwai, which I don't think is the same Mogwai from Gremlins. But maybe that's where the idea came from. Reveal. Okay, so we haven't had a reveal effect yet. So, acts are something you choose to do during your turn. Reveals happen when they trigger. Reacts happen when they trigger. Reveals happen when they are flipped over from the top of the warrior deck into the warrior piles. Since the Maga is placed in the Hall of Heroes, place it in the discard pile of the player whose god has the highest energy instead. If 2 or more gods are tied, the current player chooses which player receives it. So this never actually makes it to the Hall of Heroes. It's going to always, unless something other card might put it there for some reason. Otherwise, it's going to always immediately go to someone's discard. Just pay 1 from your temple to put Mogwai into any opponent's discard pile. Interesting. So, I think the idea of this card is just meant to be a weakness type card or a blocking card. It doesn't do anything. So basically, you draw this, it's not going to do anything for you. It doesn't gain you any faith, doesn't give you attack, defense, any special abilities. So your only option is to pay 1 from your temple to put it in somebody else's problem, make it their problem. So then when they draw their new hand, instead of drawing 5 cards, they basically only have 4 because they have this useless card in their hand. Now, that's not to say it's 100% useless, because there's other cards they can use, like, oh, if I have to discard a warrior card, or I have to banish a warrior card, here's a card you don't care about getting rid of. So that's also a little bit of a benefit there. Or it might work if you have to have like X number of cards in the chains, it might do that as well. Here we have a Bei Gunjin. Nice warrior there. Act. Place 1 disciple from your hand on any opponent's discard pile. That player's god also loses 1 energy, gain 2 faith. So getting rid of your disciples to do some extra damage. Because again, this is a very attack-heavy deck as well, with lots of stuff with playing around where cards are located. I was hoping we'd see something more with the chaining effects, because that's what a lot of the gods had, but I haven't really seen that. Mew Ginyu. Attack 2. If your opponent uses a disciple or warrior to defend against his attack, you may pay faith equal to the defender's cost to put them on top of your draw deck during your discard phase. Neat. So you still take damage, but basically you woo them to your side afterwards. General Yu Fei. React 2 damage. React, swap General Fei with a warrior in your discard pile. Use that warrior's react ability if possible. So maybe they have something better than just 2 defense or something different you'd rather use. Interesting. And our last one is Hua Mulan. Of course, we needed her in there. Attack 2 and react. Prevent a warrior from being bashed. At the beginning of your discard phase, reincarnate Mulan. So she's kind of an interesting thing. So you can always just attack with her, or you can save one of your other warriors by getting rid of her, basically. I like to reincarnate. It's kind of a neat idea in here that instead of having a lot of banishing guys and get rid of them, because I think the Japanese set had more of that, this has a lot more putting guys back in their decks where they came from, so they can come back and you play them again. It's a very interesting concept. 2 attack-oriented decks, but one that banishes, one that does reincarnating. Very cool. Again, you can pick up one, you can pick up both to mix in with either of the other sets, the ones, either the base games or the Cthulhu one. I'm always going to say the Cthulhu one is separate because it kind of has its own themiology and extra components, but they're still 100% compatible. So that is what we have for this video of Kamigami with the Warriors of Dawn and the Court of the Empire. Hope you guys enjoyed. Come back, check out the other expansions. See you guys later. Bye.